to order, and we'll start with Mr. Brankel leading us in the prayer and the pledge. So if everybody would please rise.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for allowing us to gather together again, once again, to conduct business. And we pray that our time together will be fruitful, that we'll use discernment and wisdom when we make decisions, and that we'll all leave here as friends. And we ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to the Grant County Council meeting. Next we'll have our roll call.
Brankel.
Here.
Cadell.
Here.
Hicks.
Here.
Pitts.
Here.
Lemming.
Here.
McWhirter.
Here.
Scott.
Here.
All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is the auditor's report.
You have your reports if you have any questions.
All right. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes from our meeting February 18th, 2026.
Mr. Goetz, the only thing I noticed going through that in the item E under new business, I did mention this to Stacy in email. She just didn't mention the effective date of that action. So I thought maybe we ought to note that it's effective March 23rd. That's the only thing I noted.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Report. And we'll entertain a motion regarding those minutes.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lemming.
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Cadell. Motion and a second. Any other questions or comments regarding the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next item on our agenda, we have Grant County Central Dispatch, Mr. Hicks.
Good evening. I'm requesting a new account to be created under the general fund for such dispatch for supplies. As noted in my letter, currently we use the 1222 fund, which is a restricted fund, and there are certain strings as to what that money can be spent for. So I'd just like to request a supply account be created so that we don't have to go back and reimburse after an audit.
In this particular case, it was $1,131.41.
It was.
I guess just for me, I don't know about Mr. McWhirter. I was thinking about like 7,000 seemed high.
That's what I budgeted for 26 out of the 1222 account. So I would just basically be shuffling all that over to zero.
Okay.
My question was, what account number are you looking to make? What is it, a new department?
No, it would still be under the central dispatch, so it would fall under my contractual promotions, and then I would just have a supply account.
It would be within the county general fund. That's how I advertised it, under his department, which is communications.
What department is that?
Communications.
I mean, is there a number?
313, I believe.
313.
Or 303. It's 303,
Okay.
and it would be a supply account. And I advertise it for a $7,000 additional.
I was curious where it was going to be in the budget if we did that. Okay. Is that where you actually reimburse the $1,100 and some dollars, or did you take it out of that account?
No, I took it out of unappropriated county general.
So if we do this, you change that and put it out of that account then
I
instead?
can, yes.
It would make sense.
I can make a
probably.
correction and do that. Mhm.
Because that came out of this year's budget.
Yes.
I mean, it makes sense to me, make sure we have it in an area where it's going to be acceptable for state scrutiny. So the only thing you could say now, we probably don't need to have it in the budget for the 911 fund. We can take care of that next out of budget time. Just leave it there as of now. consider that when we do budget for next year.
You could transfer that to equipment or something else.
Yeah, we
to balance.
can leave it at this point, though. If you're ready for motion, I'll make one.
Yes, sir.
I would move that we approve the additional appropriation in the general fund under the communications department for supplies in the amount of $7,000 as requested.
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Do we have a second? Second. All right. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any other questions or comments? Nothing from the council. Anything from the public regarding this request? Hearing none, seeing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you, Jim, for your consideration.
All right. Next on our agenda is Grant County Area Plan. Mr. Glancy.
Good evening, council. Like to discuss staffing within the Area Plan Commission office and request approval to fill some current open positions. At this time, we have two key positions that are open: an executive administrative assistant and code enforcement officer. So the proposed plan is pretty straightforward and structured to maintain continuity and efficiency. So first is to move the current code enforcement secretary position, that person, into the open executive administrative assistant role. This allows us to promote someone who's already in the office, trained, understands our systems, and can step into that role with minimal disruption. And then that move would create an opening for the code enforcement secretary position, which I'm requesting to fill that open position. And in addition, I'm requesting approval to fill the code enforcement officer position. So do you have any questions?
Not since we talked today.
Okay.
Talk to him.
Yeah, I had questions.
Okay.
I really wanted to do this. I called him. We spoke today about that.
Oh, okay. All right.
So I understand what he's looking to do at this point.
Okay. All right. I guess at this point, then we'd entertain a motion regarding that request.
I will ask him this. You didn't mention you want to change the name of that other position. You want
I assume that would be a second motion.
Okay, that's
I'd bring
fine.
that up
That's fine.
after that. Unless you want to wrap it all in one.
What he's looking to do is you can tell us, I guess, but the code enforcement secretary position, he wants to rename that because of really what the duties involved to make that a permit clerk.
Okay.
So that title of that position really be permit clerk, not code enforcement secretary.
Okay.
Correct?
Correct. It becomes confusing in budget time.
Okay.
That's helpful for
That's
you.
the change in salary orders I assume you're looking at. That's the change because of having a different title.
Yes.
That's your salary orders change. Okay.
So if you want to roll it all into one motion, that's fine.
Nothing goes from part-time to full-time or anything like that.
There's still a part-time position that's in the budget, and I'd like to address that next month.
So you're down 3 people?
Yes.
So it's really just two right now.
Yeah. 2 full-time. So I have a staff of 5 and a part-time. I'm currently operating with 3 people. To include myself. So a total of 3.
And Mr. Kitts, I would make a motion to permit Mr. Glancy to fill his vacancies by moving the current person that's in the enforcement secretary position to the executive administrative assistant position, and then filling the vacancy for the code enforcement officer and for what would become the permit clerk position. So I would approve the change of that position's title from code enforcement officer or code enforcement secretary to permit clerk.
All right.
And fill those vacancies,
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Do we have a
I have an
second?
effective date added to that.
whatever that date, what the date you need to be effective.
Yeah, today would be work.
Do you have one as far as payroll goes you prefer it to be?
I was gonna do 3/23, be Monday.
Would be Monday. That works for you.
Would that
You
work
wouldn't
for
have a
you?
person in place before then anyway, would you?
Not for the open positions, but
That's what I mean.
the current person that's in the permanent clerk position has been filling both roles.
Let's just make it effective 3/23. That'll make that match a payroll date.
Right.
That person that she takes that role will take that role 3/23.
Okay.
Right, a lot easier. Number stamp on it. All right, thank you, Mr. McCord, for that motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scott. We have a motion and a second. Anybody else have any questions or comments regarding these position changes? Hearing none, anything from the public having a question or comment? Yes, sir.
As president of the APC, I just want to extend my appreciation to Tammy Holloway, who's filling that gap along with Todd. I mean, when you operate an office down 2 people, somebody's got to step up to cover those bases. And Tammy and Todd have been doing that, so I will express my appreciation.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Angie gives you all you need, right? You got what
Yes.
you need. Okay.
All right, super. Next on our agenda is Grant County EMS. Dawn Harness. Maybe she's online. If not, we can pass her for now, and then we can come back, because I do see Mr. Hunt here. County prosecutor requesting a transfer of funds.
Yeah, actually, transfer appropriations is what I call that.
Okay.
Right. Angie?
Yes.
Transfer the appropriations, yeah.
Yeah, we're not actually moving any funds around, we're just changing.
No, we're just changing, yeah. So, good evening. I'm asking for a transfer, just a reallocation of certain funds from our supplies. I can give you that number if you need it, but from our supplies category in the amount of $201.38 to our notary fees. The reason for that is we had some overlap. We had a claim that was made at the end of the year last year, but it didn't come through until this year, so it got put on this year's budget. So it's creating a shortfall in our notary fees. This should be a one-time thing. It's not a major issue. So I'm just asking for that allocation of funds to be moved from the supplies to our notary process, or notary fee.
Questions for Mr. Hunt? Not, we'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
All right, thank you, Mr. Caudell.
Second.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lemon. Motion is second. Any questions or comments for Mr. Hunt? Hearing none, anything from the public? Questions? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Next, we have Grant County EMA, Bob Jackson.
Good evening, gentlemen. So I come seeking guidance and wisdom. We have been struggling for some time with our fleet. And just let me start by explaining maybe a little bit about what we do. Some people are not aware. We use our vehicles. We respond to motor vehicle accidents to assist first responders with traffic. We did recently have a deputy killed in Delaware County, struck at an incident on the roadway. So that is becoming more and more of a concern as traffic continues to get heavier and inattentive drivers seem to be more prevalent. So there again, we're assisting tow truck operators, utility companies, our first responders. This past weekend, perfect example, we spent many hours assisting with utility companies, keeping those operators safe so they can get the power restored. At one time, or a couple times this weekend, actually, we had every single piece of our equipment deployed at the same time. In fact, we had to reach out to the highway department to get some of their equipment to help us. So it's a dire need. So some of the other things we do, storm assessment, storm damage assessment. Immediately after storm, we send our crews out. So normally we are operating out in the worst weather, dark of night. This past weekend, in fact, this week, 2:30 this morning, we were on Interstate 69 helping with an accident out there. So it's important that our vehicles are safe. We are really to the point where end of life is probably long past some of these vehicles. So we're looking to replace some of these vehicles. I actually have identified 6 in our fleet. I don't know what the next course of action is. We have talked to the commissioners. They have approved us moving forward. That's why we're here from this body tonight to seek funding to replace those vehicles. I know in the packet I sent you a list of, you can see the years of these vehicles, the mileage that is on them. However, that doesn't tell you a complete story. These vehicles sit, once they were hand-me-down from the sheriff's department, the bulk of them, so they were worn out when we got them. And the amount of hours that they sit and idle at a scene is way more than what the hours or the miles will tell you. So we've got good use out of these vehicles. We try to be frugal in what we do, but understand that we also, it's important to me, I think it's important to all of us that when our people in our vehicles are out on the road, we are ambassadors to Grant County, and we try to put out a professional looking face for everything, so that we're not out there in POV, private owned vehicles. So we try to look professional, look that way, act that way. A worn out fleet doesn't really lend to that. So I know I've spoken with some of the council members here. You're well aware. So that brings me here tonight. Happy to take any questions, or honestly, how do we move forward?
Is there an opportunity to get on more of a replacement cycle with the sheriff's department instead of getting one and just letting it age out? Have a continuous process there as the sheriff ages out his equipment, to have that as your replacement, and then so on and so forth.
We've had that discussion with Captain Troyer. He manages their fleet, and they're in the process. They kind of are in the same boat we are. They're upgrading their fleet now. Most of their vehicles already worn out beyond really safe operation at this point. We have talked to them about that. We've also talked to the highway department too, which is another option we're looking at down the road. He isn't ready to replace vehicles just yet, but I think that's it makes sense to do that. However, time, it's just not a timely thing for us right now to be able to do that. The sheriff's department doesn't have any vehicles that they recommend us using.
I appreciate you being thrifty. My biggest concern is not being on a replacement cycle like that. Now we're getting hit with 4, 5, 6 at one time, which becomes a huge expense.
I understand. So, that's one of the conversations I think Councilman Scott and I had probably a year or so ago, is to create a plan to replace these in more of a cycle.
Absolutely.
So honestly, and some of the conversation we've had with the commissioners is, I think it's reasonable to expect probably a 10-year life cycle if you're looking at a newer vehicle. We're not real hard on them. However, we do put people out in snow, rain, wind, all kinds of stuff like that. So it's not like we really need to make sure our vehicles are safe if we're going to continue this program.
What's your ideal vehicle? Is it a car or a pickup truck or SUV or?
Question. So we have typically used cars. However, some of the things that we are doing now, the equipment we're carrying road closed signs. My truck, for example, I have 2 big road closed signs in there. I have 10 cones in there, some other safety equipment. And we try to, because we do respond to different incidents, carry some minimal first aid equipment as well, rescue first aid equipment. So we are carrying way more equipment than really a car can reasonably carry.
Is there other departments within the county, like highway, that doesn't beat the vehicles up as much as maybe the sheriff's department that we could?
Highway departments, so they take, I don't want to say they take better care of their stuff. I'm not.
I didn't mean that either.
Yeah. But their equipment is, I think, more lightly used. So that is, I think that's down the line. And there again, I've had conversation with Superintendent White. That is a possibility in the future for sure.
Yeah, because I guess it's kind of one of those things with no plan in front of us or something to know. It's kind of like these questions are great as far as, okay, where's the sheriff at? But you're saying maybe those vehicles are too worn out. So then it would be like, okay, what about the county? You know, could there be vehicles roll off of that? And then I guess what I start thinking about, and I'm a Chevy person, so I'll use it from a Chevy standpoint. Mm-hmm. If you could use a Trax is around $25,000. I don't know, government rate, maybe they could be less. And then if you move to like a Traverse, you know, bigger, all of a sudden now you're up 10, 20,000 more. And if you say, well, we need a Tahoe, now you're another 10, 20,000. So it's, you know, kind of Trax, which my mother has a Trax and road closed signs. I don't know if those are quite big enough. Obviously they can carry cones. Sure. But I don't know what your thought was on, you know, what types of vehicles, which goes back to what Mr. Cuddell was talking about.
Yeah, the pickup trucks really seem to work well. We also have, we did buy with COVID money some years ago, Councilman McCord can remember, 2 big electronic road closed signs. There again, we have used them on multiple occasions. So you certainly want to have a big enough vehicle that can pull those signs and place them as well. And there again, the thought process, we're carrying all this extra equipment. I really don't like putting people outside the vehicle. So we deploy these mechanical signs and things that put out there so our personnel don't have to be standing in traffic. That has been our goal all along. And the more I can keep guys in the car and out of, or a little safer, is what I really intend to do and hope to do.
When you're on full call out, how many vehicles do you need typically?
So this vehicle we had, I have one vehicle right now that's completely out of service. We used all the other ones that you see on that list with the exception of the command vehicle. Yeah, we used all of our vehicles this weekend. Now that is rare. That doesn't happen, but I will say on a weekly basis, we're out there 3 to 4 easy every week. For example, just to close 69, it takes 4 vehicles to do that safely. So there are things to keep in mind. When we're doing that, we can free up officers that can go out, get back to doing law enforcement rather than sitting there in traffic. I'm more than happy to do that, but I don't want to chase criminals. That's not my thing. That's the sheriff's department's thing. So
Historically, all your vehicles have come from the sheriff's department, pretty much?
Yes. So I have 2 vehicles now that we purchased outright. Actually 3. We did buy a new Durango last fall that is currently hopefully in service next week. So there again, looking at that, and we're now looking at a 10-year cycle to replace these vehicles. I think at 10 years, the way that we use them, we'll have gotten a good payback, and they're still worth more, worth something at the end of that cycle for a trade-in. Those current vehicles we have now we sold 2 at auction last year and got $3,000 each, and I was amazed that we got that, honestly, but that was really pushing it.
So you're talking about a new vehicle, you expect it to last 10 years, is that what you're saying?
Yes. So the conversation we had with the commissioners was, and then when we look at really a fleet maintenance program, maintenance cost is lower on newer vehicles. And there again, the payback at the end, that residual value at the end is greater as well.
Mr. Jackson, are most of your people volunteers?
They are.
How many are actually paid by the government right now in your office?
2. Yeah. Myself and my deputy are both paid. Everybody else is a volunteer. So there again, we're asking people to come out and volunteer and put them in a subpar vehicle. It just doesn't make sense.
Are you suggesting that we should start rotating some new vehicles in and out of the fleet more often than perhaps the hand-me-downs from?
Ideally, yes. Yes, I think there again, and I look at my maintenance costs now. Right now, for the last 3 years, my maintenance cost has been a third of my garage and motors budget. So that doesn't leave me much for fuel, which is my next big cost. And then, just trying to maintain new equipment, because it's not just the vehicles. We have, we lose cones, we lose, people run over our stuff all the time. So we're constantly having to replace those kind of things. I track that separately, even though it does come out of the garage and motors. But when I look at just what it takes to maintain our vehicles, it's a third of our budget the last 3 years.
What's your level of need right now? Is this something we can put in the next budget cycle and try to prepare for, or are you looking for an appropriation within this calendar year, or what's that?
Yeah, and so there again, the commissioners encouraged me to come put that before you now. There is a need, because I have a couple vehicles that one is out of service completely. I can't. It's not safe to put people on the road. I have another one that's probably close to that. We monitor it every week. Our volunteers come out and they go through a maintenance check every week with these vehicles. So one or two, anything that I can get will help. I mean, we will make it work the best we can with what we have. But in a couple of cases, these vehicles are end of life.
I'm thinking along budget lines. I'm thinking this should have probably been brought to us last year at budget time. I mean, they didn't get all of a sudden old today. This is over time, so we shouldn't be surprised with this today, Bob. This is something that should have been talked about last year.
Absolutely.
And obviously they need to come with a plan. I think what they want to do, what they were asking. At this point, we're just talking about the fact there is a need.
Right.
There's no really request here yet.
And I guess it sounds like he's trying to find out or hear from us whether there's a sympathetic ear for some amount of money.
Yeah.
But
I don't want to hear it that way.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
I want them to study their need, come to us with a plan, and ideally at budget time for us to put in next year's budget. If there's something immediately needed, we need to hear that plan and talk about that, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with you coming today and at least bring it to our attention what
I don't mind bringing it to our attention.
What your needs are, so.
But don't leave it open-ended like we're going to give you the solution, I don't think.
I don't think he's asking for that. I think he's looking for a little bit of guidance. And
Yeah, so-
we've had discussions in the past with this, and he's had a conversation with the commissioners. Commissioners asked to come to us and look for guidance. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
To me, you can come and inform us, but we need to have a plan from them, I think.
I think he will prepare one once he hears from us.
He doesn't need to hear from us before he gives us a plan.
I think that's what.
So we have a put, and I get that completely. Spent 41 years in industrial maintenance. I get having a plan, and we do. So we looked at that. Some of the reason why we didn't come last year because that plan was not in place. So looking at that 10-year replacement cycle, how we move forward. What is the life expectancy for a vehicle that we have? Also, we didn't know until we looked into that.
Plus, you got one down. He's got one plumb out of service, guys. He does a lot of work for us. And you at least got to give him one.
So right now, the command would go to you. You would assume the command vehicle.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So the truck that you have now will then pass down to be used,
Yes.
however.
So I can take you there again, if you want to plan, that truck right now is scheduled, and I've got quotes from Captain Troyer. Because of the traffic situation we are in all the time, we have funds, we get contributions in, so there again, I'm not asking for everything from here. I expect you to hold me accountable here. That truck will have about a $15,000 investment put into a flip-up signboard. If you've ever seen the Hoosier Helper in Indianapolis or South Bend, where we can get out there in the interstate and light that sign up and give the motoring public early warning, that makes it safer for our first responders by far. So we are moving forward with that plan. Regardless of what you do here today, that's going to happen. We're going to pay for that with donations. So to replace the vehicle that I have now, honestly, that probably is the single biggest need. That vehicle that is out of service needs to go to auction the next time we have one.
Yeah.
So it sounds like maybe kind of where we're at would be to probably sit down and actually come with a plan And it might be something then that we would be considering certainly in next year's budget cycle, because you started out and you were making it sound like you might need like 6 in your fleet, like now, which would.
Yeah, I'm telling you, 6 are, we're operating with them, so it's not like we're dead in the water with that.
Right.
But I can't keep kicking that can down the road, so.
Right. It sounds like your definite need right now is 1 for 1 out of service.
Yes.
But then, I mean, the rest of them, it's, I guess if your fleet is 12, it's kind of hard to replace 6 and say, in 10 years, we're going to replace another 6. It's kind of like, normally I think, and
we would
I
hope
don't
that
do
would
this,
be a
but-
gradual,
Exactly.
1 a year or something.
Exactly.
That's where we want to get to. It's just, we're so far behind
Yeah.
with that.
So what you feel comfortable with would be the command, the truck 1, truck 2. The drone 1 and the mobile command is used when it's needed, when the emergency calls for it. So we would need to look at what you're saying is some opportunity to potentially add 3 vehicles then to the command, the truck 1, the truck 2.
Yeah, if we can start that process this year with 1, hopefully then we will
Build into
do our
the
best to
rest.
stretch those others.
And give you an idea of how we're gonna get the other ones.
Right.
It's hard to build that plan when you're starting with all junk. I mean, it's not all junk, but, I inherited that fleet when we took this, and again, we tried to make the best out of what we could.
And these vehicles, I guess, other than yours, they would all be vehicles that are sitting there until the volunteer comes to get them and utilize them. It's not like these are take-home vehicles or anything like that.
No, so some do take them home because they respond from home. So we have 2 currently that do that. And there again, we look at involvement. I'm not gonna let just anybody take a car home. So the guys that respond regularly, and I can count on, particularly in the middle of the night. Myself and my deputy can't keep getting up. I was on the interstate till 2:00 Tuesday morning. I can't do that all the time. So those guys do lighten that load.
So it might be a vehicle though that's sitting there and it's only used for the purpose of on the job.
Correct.
It's not, they're not going to the grocery store or something in those vehicles.
So there again, mileage is pretty low. It's the idle time that gets high.
Yeah.
We really don't run the cars a lot.
So as of right now, you really need 1 vehicle desperate.
Yeah, to get him by.
That's true.
And the sheriff's department has nothing available right now, is that what you're saying?
Nothing that they recommend that I take. I drove a couple of the Chargers that they just decommissioned, and there again, I don't. And that's part of the reason why we didn't do this before. I'm thinking I could only get them vehicles really from the sheriff's department. I know the problems that I have. We're maintaining them. I don't want to take on a problem that I don't know, and potentially worse than what I already have.
So if you needed 1 vehicle right now, what vehicle would it be? How much is it? Do you know? Have you done
Yes, I
research?
do. So we looked at, there again, the sheriff's department went through that. On the state bid, we can, I knew, so if you want, and there again, I think it's a smart thing to do for the long term. A new Chevy Silverado is $48,507.
Is that a 4-wheel drive?
That is a 4-wheel drive.
Crew cab.
I'm gonna run water and I need to know where to go. I have to know where to go.
Is that a crew cab or is it a regular cab?
That's crew cab.
Yes.
That's state bid. Now, that doesn't include the any kind of light package or anything there again. We've tried to be frugal with our funds, particularly our donations. We can pay for that. And it's about $6,000 to outfit that with lighting.
2,500 or 1,500?
1,500.
48,000?
Yes, 48,507.
That sounds high, because ironically, I was just looking at Silverados, but maybe it's because they're on discounts. But I mean, discounts and everything I was getting was about 43,000. But it was a 4-cylinder, because it has that turbo.
This is actually a police package, so we looked at buying just a regular stock truck off the lot. We could get this cheaper, actually, with the price that we got.
With the state site.
So would you look at selling then an auction car 2 and truck, or car 4 and truck 2?
Yes. So truck 2, I would keep as long as I could, although I tell you, we did just put brakes and some other equipment on that. There again, I think that truck is a 2001, so, and it was a hand-me-down from Marion Fire Department. So everything we got except for my truck was used when we got it.
I guess my thought would be for you to come back next month with a request of exactly what you're gonna buy and maybe even a backup. I mean, just for me, one vehicle at almost $50,000 sounds high, but that's just me. I'm cheap.
Yeah. So that quote is probably a month old, because I think it was probably that long ago we talked about that with the commissioners. I'll certainly get a more recent quote.
Because then the other thing, do you need a crew cab? Obviously, a single cab is less money.
If you can get them, yes.
And they're real hard to find because I buy them for my business, and single cabs are hard to find.
Yeah, but how much less are they?
Well, I bought a 2024. It was 52,000.
Okay. Because I guess I was
2024.
again. I'm seeing some of those in like the high 30s. So
I got to shop where you shop.
I know.
But you know, I will go there. I'm not beholden to this at all.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of at least trying to get a new vehicle every now and then. Because when you're constantly handing down junk,
I agree.
you can't expect it to last long, and your maintenance costs are high.
Well, we got the highway department too. They're going to step in and kind of help us on the maintenance now on all these county vehicles.
Yeah, they do my maintenance now. So I do whenever I can. That almost everything goes to the highway department, and at least let them take a look at it. Maybe something they can't tackle, but they're pretty good.
We gotta remember, this isn't civil defense any longer.
Right. That's exactly right.
This is a.
You got the guys out there with a baton, but
I appreciate the money you've saved us over the years with that. It's the surprise factor that
Sure.
is an issue we need to be able to prepare for.
Do that coming in. We've had that conversation. So, yeah.
Maybe a comparison between a new and some used, come back to us next month with some options and comparisons and
Yeah.
give us something to look at.
I think that'd be great. Yeah.
So there again, the conversation I had with Superintendent White. I'm not sure what his time frame is. I know he's got a couple trucks that are due to be replaced. I don't know if it's this year or not. I will find out for sure. Because I think that's probably the better thing to do, most cost-effective thing to do. But in the meantime, I'm down vehicles.
Well, I commend your efforts. I know you stretch a dollar as far as it possibly can be stretched. And if you're coming to us, I know it's a big need. So I appreciate everything that you do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think maybe that next council meeting, probably having a specific request for vehicle or, a few choices or options, something like that. And then this game plan is certainly something that it sounds like needs to be done, but it's more like Mr. McCourt had said, kind of like at budget time, that way we can budget for it and be a little more ready.
And Bob, I hope you understand, I appreciate what you do as well. I mean, that's no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Like Aaron mentioned, the surprise factor is big to me right now. I mean, this is, all these vehicles they're old vehicles, but we shouldn't be surprised by this right now. I think we need to have some kind of.
So we do have, in my budget, there is a $30,000 equipment. I haven't touched it, there again, we tried to reserve that back. We did use it last year to help with the cost of the Durango, so just throw that out there as well. That's an option.
And looking through this, I mean, I knew we were going to discuss it. There was no indication we wanted to actually spend the money today, so.
So there again, the direction from the commissioners was, I think the same as yours, put a plan together. We're working on that. Just needed guidance as to how far, what is it, how do you want that to look when we do come? So we make it as an appropriation?
I would say if you need a vehicle now, then we're probably going to have to consider that. And if you think you need two, then we'll probably have to consider that. And so then that would be for this year. And then we should be looking at that plan that you would have then going forward, probably for like the next 5 years, some plan of here's what I'm going to do or here's what I'd like to see, something like that. And
Well,
then-
there's no doubt in my mind, all 6 wasn't gonna happen,
Yeah.
and that's not even realistic to think that it would, but I want you to be aware, this is what we're looking at.
Yeah, and then the other options too, finding out from Grant County Highway Department, that might fill the need of a couple of them. So, as we whittle it away, it gets
That
better
would
and better.
certainly be part of the plan as we look to next year.
Yeah.
If we can get a vehicle now and then incorporate whatever the sheriff's department might have. And then even down the road, I know the sheriff's department is looking to move their vehicles quicker than what they have in the past. So they're not, 100,000, 90, I think 90-some thousand when we finally get them. That they can roll theirs out quicker too, assuming that could be an option.
Yeah, we can't disregard that possibility, I think.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Because you mentioned you use the word ideal in your comments. We can't necessarily be ideal. We want to be good, but maybe not ideal sometimes. So there's a
That's
line
what
there.
we shoot for, Jim.
What's that?
That's what we shoot for.
Yeah, we can shoot for it, but just don't count on ideal.
I get you. I get you.
Well, I think we have other departments, Mr. Pullman can correct me, but I think the health department has some smaller SUVs.
Yes.
Maybe we have some other departments that have,
Yeah, they got theirs, I think they got theirs last year. Health department.
because I know I see some parked over here, some smaller SUV. I don't know if something is coming up that might be available over there for consideration too. I don't know what it would be, but
I can check it
recall
out.
seeing some.
If they're gonna be pulling around barricades and signs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
a small SUV is not gonna be their ticket.
Right.
It wouldn't even be safe.
It can be some in the fleet, but can't be,
Right.
yeah.
I mean, you might.
Yeah, for sure. Not every vehicle maybe needs to be a four-wheel drive truck, but
Right.
when it's snowing and blowing and
In Indiana, it does.
I appreciate your consideration and we'll move forward with that.
Yeah, yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I was gonna go back to Dawn Harness if she came in. I didn't. Oh, okay. All right, cool.
Apologize, I'm lost in my own little world.
No, you're all right.
Pictures. One request is to transfer the medical director funds out of line item 14002 to a contractual services. Our new medical director doesn't get paid through the payroll. He only charges $1,500 a year. He doesn't want that spread out for the whole year in payroll. He just sends us an invoice and we pay him at the end of the year. I don't have that number yet, but you'll be making me one.
It'll be contractual.
Yeah. That would be transferring the remaining money out of that into a contractual service to be determined. The rest of it, or part of it anyway, needs to be transferred over to overtime again. We had this conversation at budget time, how 2,300 was approved and it's now gone.
The change in the hours seem to be helping so far.
They help, but they don't help the overtime budget. This is anything over 40 hours a week. Yeah.
But the other concerns you brought to us.
I don't, it's hard to determine at this point of the year, mid-March, but I can guarantee you with the trend of the last 4 years that I looked at, 75-hour budget will considerably help, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone has any other questions? Chair would entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Rinkle.
Second.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any other questions from the council? Any questions from the public regarding this? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is Grant County Probation with Melissa Stevenson. Pre-trial home detention program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So a system-wide collaborative effort, including sheriff's office, court services, the courts, prosecutor's office, public defender's office, And we established a jail alternatives work group, included the council into that work group as well. And really the idea was to develop additional effective strategies to address the ongoing challenge that we see with the jail overcrowding, and really balancing that with maintaining public safety and looking at what's the best way to use the resources, the financial resources. And what happened was this effort resulted in a development of a pretrial home detention program aimed at helping address our shared concern that we had for jail overcrowding. And it also looks at how do we increase access to services. So this initiative represents a willingness to bring together the collective expertise of our community stakeholders to explore practical, responsible alternatives to promote public safety, support individuals and their needs in the justice system, and to use looking at how are we using county resources. So in your packet, you should have received a joint letter from the sheriff and court services outlining the pretrial home detention program. This program targets some nonviolent pretrial population that includes really, we spent some time clearly defining the target population, the eligibility criteria, housing requirements, and court oversight. Participants are identified at multiple parts of the justice system. So it could include jails, from the jail, it could be from the court, it could be from attorneys, it could be from probation or pretrial staff. And then there's screened prior to approval. And the target population that this is really designed for is to serve individuals who have substance use related offenses. And oftentimes what we're finding is that those individuals have multiple charges. So it's also slowing down the process. It could be for like theft or fraud or non-support, which oftentimes frequently it's motivated by substance use as well. It could be an alternative as we look at probation violations for new offenses. It could be some defendants who are not released at the pretrial services at their meaningful hearing. So research indicates that receiving substance use services closer to post-arrest can significantly impact long-term recovery. So this highlights the importance of timely and appropriate substance abuse treatment to reduce the likelihood of future criminal justice involvement. It also improves long-term recovery outcomes. And so the Bureau of Justice Statistics took some snapshots of number of people held in jail while awaiting trial at any given day in the United States. So in 2012, that number was 182,754 individuals. So if you fast forward to 2019, that number was 480,700. So a significant increase over those years. So what we're experiencing locally is consistent throughout the United States. So, so we spent a lot of time looking at reviewing the population that we're seeing locally within the jail, those who are being placed in out-of-county jails, and really looking at how do we develop a target population based on applying the research to the pretrial population and what we're seeing here. And so there isn't really a magic program that's completely going to address jail overcrowding. This is one program to assist the overarching strategy of jail overcrowding. So when we look at pretrial home detention, it emphasizes accountability through electronic monitoring rather than just looking at a standard. The traditional home detention looks at electronic monitoring and treatment and behavioral programming. This is a standalone program outside of traditional home detention that is provided after sentencing. This one is pretrial, so before they're sentenced to any type of incarceration time. And referrals to community resources will be provided as needed to help them get access to care sooner. It's not a requirement, so they can choose to participate in programming or they can choose not to during the pretrial stage. It does, however, create opportunities for justice-involved individuals to receive treatment or other services within the community should they want them. And so it's just giving them a more timely access to community resources. They're going to come out eventually. And so what we're doing is finding a way to get them into those services a little bit quicker. So the process for pretrial home detention would include court services notifying the courts of eligibility of participants, and once they're released, the probation officer would provide a summary review at 90 days. So they're going to set a hearing prior to release at 90 days, a review hearing for court, and we will be providing a summary, which would allow the courts to be notified of, are they voluntarily going to services? Are they compliant with, following the rules? And it also allows us to assess like stability. And so looking at, is their housing stable? So a lot of factors that increase or decrease the likelihood of future justice involvement. And because this is done at a review hearing, it also provides information to attorneys regarding their progress or any program violations. And to lessen the time someone is on pretrial home detention, we've talked briefly yesterday at the Community Corrections Advisory Board about this program, which they, since it's a condition, it would be falling under Community Corrections. The Community Corrections Advisory Board voted to support this program should it be funded. And the goal is to close cases as close to the 90-day mark as possible. So they're going to get information about how well they're doing on pretrial home detention. So it would really hopefully speed up that process too as well. But we have to understand that there isn't a 100% success rate for any program. So when we look at things that might send them back to the jail would be things like repeated non-compliance. And really, the key word is repeated. It's not the first time they didn't do something. It's after multiple attempts to try to make sure that they're compliant with the conditions of home detention. So we also have to consider public safety. So if the participant were to be arrested or charged with a new offense, that would also likely result in a return to a standard incarceration. Anytime financial resources are limited, and I understand that that's what we face here locally, it really creates an opportunity for competition between departments for funds. And one of the things that's rather than getting caught up in financial barriers, what we're doing is presenting a possible solution in order to make this a budget neutral initiative. So when we think about this, currently housing 30 inmates out of county at $42 a day, 365 days a year would cost the county approximately $459,000 a year. So when we compare that to what it would take to employ enough staff to run something like this and to pay for the equipment, leasing fees, and things like that, it runs about $198,131, which is a little bit less than what was in the letter. So the sheriff has agreed to redirect a portion of existing out-of-county placement funds to allow the county to reduce the reliance on this costly external housing while investing in a more efficient and sustainable option here locally. And so when we think about that, this request would actually require, from what I understand from Angie, is that it would require the council to create a home ruled fund within community corrections for the pretrial home detention program, and then approve funds to be transferred. The sheriff's here with us, so this has been something that has been a collaborative effort. I don't know if you have things to add or...
Yeah, you pretty much covered it.
So it's just been a good opportunity for us to demonstrate as a county how we can work together through other departments to look at complex issues, find solutions to those, understanding that there is no one perfect solution, but we continue to work well together to try to figure out what our options are, how can we make some progress and serve the community a little bit better. So not sure what kind of questions you have.
Question about the fund. Why wouldn't we just go ahead and set up a department in the general fund to accommodate that or put it in it?
That's what I was gonna say. We could do multiple different things. We could add the staff to her existing budget within the general
Right, that's what I
fund
would think, yeah.
and do additional appropriations to cover all these expenses.
You know, what we would do, my thought would be we just reduce the appropriation. You have to go through the process of reducing the appropriation in the
Yes.
detention budget right now where the inmate housing is and so forth. Reduce that and just make an additional for that part of her budget to incorporate the staff
Right.
into that.
We could do it that way.
That would be
yes.
simpler, I
Or,
think.
yes, or you could create a fund, a home rule fund, so that it's totally separate.
I would
Totally
suggest
your
leave the
call.
general fund, not set up a new fund.
This particular program would run through Community Corrections, who does not have any general fund budgets.
Oh.
But couldn't they be part of that? I mean, could they be part of yours? Would that, is there something against doing that? Or maybe we could have a separate department just for the corrections piece in the general fund.
I'll look and see what departments we have available.
Yeah, my thought, I think we ought to keep it in the general fund if we can. That way the cash just stays there and you're not taking it to a separate fund outside. That'd be my preference, if we can do an department in the general fund.
I will look into that. For
Yeah.
sure.
Is that part of the IC 36-1-3 thing you're talking about? Or is that separate?
Yeah, that's the
That
new
was-
fund they're talking about.
Yeah, that's it. So if you didn't do it outside of that fund, it'd still be paid from the same area. It's just not earmarked.
Yeah, my thought is just keep it in the general fund, separating into a separate fund outside our budget. That's what
Is
I'm
there an
saying.
advantage to that?
Well, I'm just saying it's general fund money. I'm just saying keep it in the general fund and budget out of the general fund and use it out of the general fund is what I would say.
I think so too, because we're looking ahead to 27, 28. We're talking about using this out of county funding as part of this jail project in one way, shape, or form. So this has to be accounted for when we're moving those funds towards jail or whatever we're going to do.
Yeah, I would think keep it in the general fund. That'd be my thought. And I think we should be able to do that. That shouldn't be an issue. Just a matter of getting the department number established. Whether that's a current department or a new department.
Jim, does it matter if they at some point receive revenue from people paying on detention fees? Does that impact it at all?
If it's part of this program, it'd just be general fund revenue. It'll offset the cost of what we're appropriating.
So you look at it as miscellaneous income?
Yeah, miscellaneous revenue.
The non-recurring part of it would matter at that point?
Yeah, it'd just be part of the general fund's miscellaneous revenue is what I would say. That's my thought going in. Just offset some of our costs that we're budgeting out of the general fund to accommodate that.
I appreciate hearing this. I had actually come prepared with a little bit of information, not anything formal or anything I want to get into in great detail, but addressing this area was one of the 4 different policy reforms that I was thinking about that we could maybe explore and examine. State and national averages puts about 80 to 90% of jail detainees as being pretrial. Do we fall within that range, do you feel?
Well, it depends. So that's kind of a more complex question. So it really kind of depends. Sometimes they are pretrial on one case and sentenced on another. And sometimes they're maybe pretrial on one case and a probation violation on another. And so that's why we were looking at how can we use this for those cases that are maybe a probation violation with a new charge. How can we kind of serve those a little bit different? And then, I would defer to the sheriff about the actual specifics of the jail population, but a lot of times it's multiple charges.
Right, we have that. We'll have someone that's sentenced on one charge but is waiting trial on another. And to give you an exact number, I can't give you that right off the top of my head.
I guess it's going to be somewhere.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty high.
It's going to be.
Yeah, when I run the reports, our pre-trials are very high. We have a lot of pre-trials.
You want to look at some of these reforms, you want to put together a list of goals and objectives, right? And some of them may be achievable, but maybe some of it is, I'm open to meeting and having discussions and seeing how close we get to some of these. But here's what I would like to share, the 4 policy reforms that I had thought about. One was pretrial reform, to where we're looking at a potential reduction in jail population by maybe up to 25% because of how high that number is, because of how many pretrial detainees there are. Certainly what you're talking about goes a long way. We're looking at 30 inmates, right? Can we go a step further and look and finding even more than that, to where maybe we could reach that 25% mark? Drug treatment diversion programs, can we find 15% of that jail population? Probation and bond violations, and really looking at technical violations, can we reduce that number by 15 or by 10%? And looking at just the case processing, just making sure, because we've heard time and time again of how long it's taking for some of these cases to be processed through our system. Can that number down by even 5%? If we take those four totals, we're looking at nearly a 50% reduction in our jail population. 50% reduction. That's going to take us as high as from we're at 380 right now down to 190. That's going to put it below the 80% coverage that Sheriff Garcia has talked about. So I'm working on some things. I'd be happy to share once I get some things put together. That's where I'm starting at right now, and I would be curious and just getting some thoughts here in the near future of maybe opening up some dialogue, outside the box thinking, and where we could go. But I appreciate the efforts that Mr. Kitts has put together and bringing some things up and your collaborative effort with those within the system of at least getting to this point. Because I think it shows that we can do things here locally, internally, that we can address our jail population. So thanks for getting us to this point right here.
Yeah, I feel like it's wonderful that there's this collaboration and coming up with some new ideas and things like that. And again, we're trying to help reduce the jail population for us, but also at the same time, it's providing services. We hope that these people will, the opportunity for services that these people will go out and get or continue their employment, as opposed to being sitting in our jail. So I think it can help those who are currently incarcerated, would be my belief and my hope.
I also would ask, I guess, if we're talking about reducing an appropriation we've already established for adult inmates out of county for 2026. Are we fooling ourselves, or are we being realistic by reducing that to accommodate the cost of this program? I guess that's the question that's out there that I'm not sure we can answer that.
But I guess maybe part of that's going to be answered is if we can make sure the void isn't filled.
That's realistic. That's where I'm coming to, I guess. I don't know.
If we get 30 brought into this program, is the temptation going to be to, we have 30 spots available?
Because obviously it makes sense to do this if we feel like it's going to give us that savings.
Exactly.
If it doesn't, then is it worth it?
Yeah, the sheriff's got to give us a prediction on crime.
No, I can tell you this.
You have a crystal ball, you can tell us.
No, and that's the problem. And here's the thing. When Mr. Kitts brought the idea of using these funds, like I told him, I can't guarantee you anything. And it's not an issue of we get 30 beds open, we're going to fill them. We don't go out there and say, hey, I've got a bed open, let me arrest this gentleman here so I can fill that bed. What you got to understand is those beds are filled by people who commit crime, people who break the law. I don't determine who does that. They determine that. Now, the sleeping giant in this whole thing is what we got to remember is we still have around 1,200 to 1,300 warrants out there. That's out there that are active warrants. And we're in the process of looking into those, possibly implementing some, and I got to get with the prosecutor, he's still here. We've talked about doing some amnesty type deals to get rid of some of those warrants and things of that nature. But we also have to look at history. History will show you, if you look at the history of Grant County, it'll show you that the times that jail population has gone down has been because we've implemented programs, right? So it goes down, it levels out. And then within a few years, it goes back up. We implement some more programs. It goes back down, levels out, and then within a few years, it goes back up. So we can't guarantee anything because I can't tell you what people are going to be doing or what they're not going to be doing. The only thing I can tell you is I know when we looked at this at my first year in office and I got with Chris and Melissa, I was looking at the standard home detention. And then I think last year, we thought, well, maybe we can do it a different way. And they were able to come up with this idea, and we were able to come up with this idea for this pre-trial. And I think it could help, but it's not the silver bullet that's necessarily going to solve everything. Because I agree with you, Mr. We have to do a lot of little things to take care of this problem. So I wish I could sit here and tell you that this is the end all be all. But I know we all want to live in a safe community. We're going to work to make sure Grant County is safe. And, I just wish I had a better answer for you. I just can't predict the future. So,
Sheriff, I want to make sure I'm on the right mindset too. In regards to the out-of-county funding, let's say we have 2 beds open. Inmates get in a fight, then they have to be segregated, but it has to be the right 2 beds also, correct? Or else we're still pushing one of them out of county to segregate?
Yeah, we do that. Our out of county, because a sheriff's office doesn't have to do that for us. So we have to basically send them the best of the best from our office or from our jail. So most of the people that cause problems stay here with us. Our first time we did it, we tried to send some of them over. They came back pretty quick. So that didn't work for us. So we send the best. So most of our troublemakers actually stay here, and we don't send them out of county. We just try to separate them from within.
I'm not talking specific to the inmate. I'm just saying, will we still have out-of-county expenses because of instances like that?
Yes, we could, yes. And I think Mr. McClure brought this up in one of the meetings. I can't guarantee that I will not be back up here and asking you for money for out of county. I mean, I just can't predict. I can tell you this, we will do our best to keep those numbers down. And I think this will help. But for me to sit up here and tell you, we only know about 3 things for certain in life. You're going to be born, you're going to die, you're going to pay taxes. Beyond that, I can't tell you exactly what's going to happen in the future. But I can guarantee you this, we will do everything we can to make sure we stay within our budget, and we stay within our within the regulated population that we have to make it safe both for our team members and for our inmates. I mean, that's the one guarantee I can give you is that we'll work hard to make that happen.
So a couple of things too to think about if it goes well. So this is our best prediction. This is how we think it might work. So if it works well, there could be an opportunity to scale it to more than 30 if we have enough resources to do that, right? And then the other thing to think about on the back end is yesterday at the Community Corrections Advisory Board, they approved to essentially pretty much double the amount of post-sentence clients that can come to home detention. So once they get sentenced, there's going to be an increased capacity there as well to reduce some of that burden of incarceration after sentencing. And the hope is that they experience and do well on pretrial home detention and can slide that way and not have to necessarily go back into jail after sentencing. So, I mean, there's a lot of other moving parts in terms of how this works and how it might work and things like that. So that's kind of the hope is, we're saying, okay, 30 is probably about the sweet spot for right now for us to get it up and going and try to figure that out. Doesn't mean that we would say, oh, not 31. We've worked with the sheriff's office before, taken people on pretrial to help with lessening the county's burden for expensive medical care. So we've done that before. So it's really just kind of building on some of the work that we've already started and kind of looking at it a little bit differently and trying to get people access to services a little bit sooner too.
And I think with talking with the judges, I think one of the goals is to, within that 90-day time frame, is to get the case cleared one way or another. And they're hoping to be able to do that. That way we can move these cases quicker through the courts. I think we talked about that in that meeting yesterday because, that has been an issue. It's been an issue since COVID. We've gotten so backlogged. So that's one of the goals that we're going to try, or they're going to try to do, is get these cases resolved so they either can get put on standard home detention or be sent to DOC.
And I guess the hope would be that if this is successful, and there are more candidates that could qualify, it might be about half as much to add for another 30
Yeah, so really, I think you would just be adding one more staff person and then the expense to lease. Because that's what we're working on, leasing, instead of buying outright, we're gonna lease the equipment. We have a longstanding relationship with the company that provides that monitoring service for us. And if we have a larger number, the daily lease price might be smaller. So lots of different factors that might happen. No promise that would happen that way, but we're willing to have those conversations about having a better, more competitive daily fee too.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate it. I don't know if anybody else has any questions, Mr. McWhirter.
I have a quick question for you. You were talking about an inmate and they could be in there for this or that. That has to do with their sentence. How does that get found or watched over? Is it a program? Is it an individual?
So we've talked a little, yes. So it could be both. So the referrals can come from multiple different places. So it could come from their attorneys. It could come from the prosecutor's office. It could come from the courts. It could come from the jail. It could come from probation officers. So there's multiple routes in, but the one position would be responsible for identifying, assessing, and evaluating housing and things like that and getting them in. So the one position would really be the main contact that everybody would be having to kind of oversee all of that.
Well, I'm thinking that, I feel like I've been here before, like a year or two, we talked about something similar to this, and we were thinking that it would go in, and maybe I'm wrong, but I was thinking it would have to do with the courts and the prosecutor's office to be able to say, like, we're sorting these inmates to say what they're in there for, and then that would put them on a list to say, yes, we can let this person out on probation, or this person, no, he has to. We don't have that.
So we have pretrial services, and so also we've looped in our coordinator from the pretrial services, who is also going to help provide information for those who don't get released if they're meaningful, and providing that to information to community corrections to say, hey, flag this one, they might be appropriate. So they might fit better with a little bit more extra monitoring, and then instead of just sitting there and not getting out at all. So we've really tried to look at it like trying to eliminate barriers to getting into, and really trying to find multiple ways to get it kind of filtered in rather than filtering people out.
Okay. So you make me thinking about what we're doing with our misdemeanors that we get. We started this about 3 years ago. Low-level misdemeanor charges. It was an agreement with the courts where they get OR'd. Is that what you were kind of referring to?
I just feel like I've heard some of this before.
And we're still doing that. Like today, I think we had 345 inmates in our jail, and I think we had a total of just 16 misdemeanors. One of them was actually, this time was for marijuana only, but he just got arrested, and we're going to let him go to court tomorrow, and they'll probably let him out. Instead of ORing him, we thought it'd be better to let him go to court. That way he shows up to court and we don't possibly get a warrant for failure to appear. So we're still doing that. We continue to do that with our misdemeanor nonviolent offenders to try to get them out as quickly as we can. So our numbers for misdemeanor only charges, the ones that normally stay in there, are domestic battery or some type of battery like that, invasion of privacy, and different things like that. So.
And the biggest difference about this is they have to be non-violent because of code. The supervision completely changes when you put violent, charged with violent offenses, Sure. So if they get kind of sentenced to a lesser, that changes things for them as well. But we have to be careful about, that's why we selected the non-violent category. So we aren't having to do a significant amount of additional, basically it's surveillance, and the more you look for, the more you find. And so we don't want to create an opportunity to get people out and set them up to have to come back. So it's really, that's why it's designed for the nonviolent category.
And don't forget, we got the potential of this, but we also have Magistrate McLean, so he's now, I mean, that court's, gosh, how long?
Or referee court.
Referee court's a
I think
month or a year or.
in May, I
Yeah,
think it
we're
would be a
approaching
year.
So
Yeah.
maybe we'll start seeing the fruits from that coming here soon as well.
Right.
I know he's been very active and very busy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this time we'd entertain a motion regarding this pretrial home detention program.
Can I ask one more question first?
Absolutely.
Number of personnel, I see the salary numbers and different costs in here as far as the budget for the total. You said 198, 201,000 is on our letter. Is that 2 person, 2 item, 2 people?
It's 2 people.
Okay, it's 2. Okay.
And it could be less because we put in for that 4 to 9 year range for a probation officer. So if we have somebody internally that's interested, that might be a very quick slide into that and get it going. And so we didn't want to not have that. Now, if we don't have that interest or if they don't fit fit in that category, it may be less if we get 0 years experience.
Okay. So that's a projection, I guess, at the cost.
Yeah, pretty much everything's
Gotcha.
a projection right now because
All
we
right.
just don't know.
Who?
And we don't know, so the equipment cost is a little bit, that's a projected amount. Because we don't know, if it's going to be one, then another, or if it's going to be 15 or 30 right away.
Also, no, that's not necessarily set in stone. It's kind of it's a moving target, so to speak. Okay.
Right.
All right.
How quick will you be up and running?
Well, so it would be a completely new program, so we would have to, we'd have to hire, bring them in, do some.
Just an estimate, I mean.
Policy and training and things like that. So, my best guess is the earliest would probably be 4 weeks. If you do interviews, they give 2 days and 2 weeks notice. Yeah. So, that would be the earliest. I don't know if that's realistic. I wish, but, trying to find, it's important for us to find the right person rather than a person.
Is the equipment short lead time? Is it available?
Yeah, it's pretty quick. We can get it in they're located in Indiana, so we can get them probably
3 to 5 days.
Yeah.
But I can get it shipped quicker if we need it. And they let us keep a certain amount in stock so that I can keep up to 30% in stock there if we need it. So
You'll buy that in segments or?
We're gonna lease it.
Lease that in segments or?
they'll let us hold a lease amount in stock, and then as we start to get short, I just refill what we have.
Okay.
All right, Chair would entertain a motion, and I believe the request is now 198, 131 would be the request, and that would be basically coming from the out-of-county housing budget for this to go into, yes.
To reduce the budget in the department, we actually have to advertise and have it's like an additional appropriation in reverse is what it is. So we need to actually advertise for that reduction. I guess I'll make an attempt at a motion, see what we can do here.
Okay.
My thought is I would approve this program as we've discussed it. And I would say that we I'll make it even $200,000, a $200,000 budget amount. In the numbers, roughly what these numbers are in the categories that have been presented to us. So, and I would say a $200,000 budget in a department in the general fund that is appropriate based on what Angie comes up with for us there. So it'll be an additional appropriation in the general fund, and you have to advertise this. You haven't done this yet, right?
Yeah, it'll have to be advertised.
Yeah, so we really can't.
Yeah.
I guess at this one, really just need to give you the approval to advertise the appropriation and the reduction, and then we'll have to actually approve it next time. We really can't approve it yet until we get that appropriation advertised.
All right. Okay.
So no motion on that case at this point. Just advertise it and then we'll go from there.
So we just added 30 days to Melissa's estimate.
We can't really help it.
Sorry.
We really can't help it.
Question I have though, Jim, for that is, can we post for those positions? or not?
I'm willing to say post. Yeah, I guess we could say a motion to approve the posting of the position, get the thing started, but we'll deal with all the appropriation stuff at our next meeting.
Sure. Because I guess the main thing was trying to make sure that we have enough members of the council that would be on board with doing.
I'm willing to give it a shot. Hopefully it's going to be something that we'll see fruits of our labor, so to speak, out of that.
Hopefully quicker.
Yeah. But I'm willing to make a motion that we permit the posting of the position and getting somebody in place for that.
Okay. All right. So we've got a motion from Mr. McCourt to do that.
The two positions.
Yeah, it's 2 positions, actually. Yeah, 2 positions.
And a second from Mr. Caudell for posting those 2 positions. Any other questions or anything from the council? Anything from the public regarding this program? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. I appreciate that. And then I'll apologize to Ms. Harris. I should have called her up first because obviously that one took a little bit longer. But she had sent a request in for filling a second deputy position in the clerk's office.
No need to apologize. I just appreciate you squeezing me in at the 11th hour. Thank you, sir. And thank you, Councilman. Stacy did get my note, I believe, to all of you. I didn't want to come and request this because I wanted to honor your request to not fill positions, but I did have a staff member who decided to stay home with their very young family. So I thought, well, okay, we could try to make this work. And then just recently I had another staff member express that she is going to need a surgery and it's going to be off for a little bit. And then in looking at my calendar and seeing the conflicts with other staff members with already scheduled vacations and personal days and then various doctor's appointments because we're all getting old, I thought this is going to cause a few problems in the office. So what I'm asking is that you allow me to just fill the already budgeted SOUP 3 second deputy position. This does come with a fee scale at the 38,742, but of course a portion of that has already been used, so the remaining balance is around 31. And then that position does come with benefits as well. And so that is my request, is that you let me fill the already budgeted position. And thank you for helping me with this.
I'd move for approval.
Okay, thank you, Mr. McCourt.
I'll second that, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brinkle. Got a motion and a second. Anybody have any questions for Ms. Harris? Hearing none, anybody from the public? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, same sign. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Mr. Hicks, I understand Will is doing well after that horrific accident, and he is a true miracle. So we're grateful for that.
All right, thank you. The next item on our agenda is, it's old business, and I put it on there, jail discussion, and I felt like there's a lot of maybe mystery going around about it. We've been talking about this it's been actually over a year, and I think some people are kind of surprised that we're talking about a jail or something like that. We've had 3 options presented to us that were talked about at our joint session that we had last month, which basically was renovating part of the D home plus a new pod. Upfront cost over $56 million. Total cost about $98 million with 352 beds. A second option was to renovate part of the D home plus a new pod plus renovate the juvenile detention area. And that was an upfront cost of $61,816. I wish it was 61,000. And then the total cost with interest would be about $108 million. and that would be 398 beds. And then an option 3 was to build a completely new jail on Garthwaite Road. That has an upfront cost of $73.9 million, a total cost of $131,500,000, and that's 469 beds that would include. And that would be a completely new facility as opposed to the first 2 options. And that would also be built, again, I say Garthwaite Road, but it could actually be anywhere in the county if there were struggles with being at Garthwaite Road. I've been on the jail committee, and personally I was kind of frustrated that I haven't been able to get across maybe something that I wanted on there. It never made the list. But in kind of looking at this, the difference between option 2 and option 1 is about $5.2 million, and that was just renovating the juvenile detention center itself. From talking to BW Construction, it could be double bunked, so we could actually hold 92 people in that. So that would have an upfront cost of $5.2 million. I believe the total cost would be close to that $5.2 million because it would be a cash funded option. It would use our existing jail, 274 beds, and then adding 92 beds. So you've got a total of 366 beds. The big question about that, though, is how long does our jail last? I don't think anybody can really predict that. I actually did own the old jail for about 10 years. So that was built in 2003 and it's still standing. And it's still operational. Obviously, when it's a jail, it's a little bit harder on the facilities, and things like that happen. And again, that can be paid because we do have a lit in place, local income tax, which should generate $3 million a year. I believe the latest argument or stance for the new jail has to do with the capacity of the current facility. It hasn't been that the facility really has reached the end of its useful life, is my understanding. I recently toured the jail, and I believe it's been well preserved, which is a compliment really to all who work within it and all who work to maintain it. I'm very concerned with building a facility at Garthwaite Road, which the option is to fund it by using $2.26 million out of our operating budget for the next 25 years. That would be a total of $56,500,000 out of our operating budget. I'm concerned that it would tie the hands of our future council. And what about raises for our hardworking employees? I think it makes it less likely, and that's certainly my opinion. I believe, trying to utilize an asset that we have that's been sitting there. It was taken out of service. It actually has a pod, which is what we would build, is a pod. Granted, it's smaller. We do have a well-trained maintenance staff, possibly who could perform some of this work. In talking to one commissioner, that's what he has said. The proof would be work that they've done on the Salem Bank building. I believe that if we keep what we have and we have the current facility, it's going to continue to spur communication and innovation within Grant County. I've obviously met numerous times with the sheriff, the prosecutor, our judiciary, community corrections, probation, and we want to save money from the out-of-county prisoners. Tonight is an example of that program of pretrial home detention. We're hopeful that it will work, but that money comes out of our operating budget. So if we're spending $2.2 million out at Garthwaite Road, and we don't have that money to pull out to try that new program. So that's a huge concern for me. And at the end of the day, it's the people that are going to make the difference. It's not the building. Just because it's a brand new jail doesn't solve that problem. And so that concerns me. And I've certainly been concerned about our inmate population. How high is it? Ever since I got on here, And it's because we don't have enough bed space. It keeps our feet to the fire, and it keeps us having to talk and to work together, to collaborate. And I'm concerned if we actually build a 469 bed facility that we don't necessarily have to collaborate anymore because we got bed space, we got jail space. Is it going to be as much of a concern for me? No, because I can't save any money anymore. It's spent and it's out there. So that's kind of my 2 cents of this project. I know the commissioners haven't brought anything forward to us, but I felt it appropriate to have some type of a discussion of maybe where people are leaning. But if nobody really wants to say a whole lot about that, then I mean, that's okay too. I've run some different numbers, and I still think that comparing it to Garthwaite Road versus either doing nothing or doing that juvenile detention center, it's a tremendous difference in money. I think I've given this to the council members, and even operating that facility over there, I use 10 people, $650,000 a year. I said, okay, maybe we still have 30 people out of county. Maybe they are. So that's 1.1 million a year over 25 years. That's 27.7 million. Interest expense is zero. Upfront cash spent is $5 million. If I compare that to Garthwaite Road, which has a total cost of 131.5 over that 25 years, deducting those expenses, we've got 98,552,000 either for fixing our jail or anything else. And that's over a 25-year period. And it's because of the lit fund that's in place, and then it's also the 2.2 million that's in our budget. The interest is what is gone. And so then also we would still have the opportunity to be collaborative about those 30 people that are out of county. And maybe if we could get rid of those people, that's another $11.5 million over the next 25 years. So now that's $110 million. I'd be happy to share this, piece of paper with anybody from the public. All I need to do is get an email or a mail. I'll send it to you. And granted, these are just my numbers. People can poke them, prod them, put holes in them, anything like that. Because everybody has, different numbers and different ways of looking at things for sure. And the $1 million question, or maybe the $110 million question, is how long does our jail last? I guess I'm not believing that it's at the end of its life. But again, that's one person's opinion of going through it and things like that. What is that number? I'd say at least 10 years, maybe 15. But have we had a consultant or an expert go through in the last 2 years? Not that I'm aware of. That's where I'm at. I don't know if anybody has any comments or statements on the council regarding anything.
I believe from our last meeting, the option 3, the new jail, would also require an additional $1.1 million to fund, correct? Over the course of that term.
Of the building a new jail?
Building the new jail for option 3.
Option 3 on Garthwaite Road.
Was an additional, on top of the lid that's already being collected.
It's 2.26 million on top of the lid.
Okay, I thought it was 1.16.
I believe it's 2.26 million. The total payment's like 5.26 million. And that was assuming a 4.5% interest rate, which at one point they said maybe it's less, but unfortunately now with perhaps our conflict in the Middle East, interest rates may not be as favorable. And that's one of those things too, you can't predict what those interest rates are or what they be.
So with that being said, then option 3, the new jail on Garthwaite Road, is actually $180-some million.
Well,
right?
I'm just going by the payment. I thought 5.26 times 25 was 131,500.
It's actually 127 million for, if you add the principal and the total interest together, it's 127,463.
Okay.
Plus.
Okay.
We also have to remember, we don't have a hard number on Garthwaite yet.
Not yet.
Nothing. I mean, we have no number.
And, Greg, I appreciate your thoughts, your comments, and your presentation of things here. I haven't put anything down here in writing like you have on a schedule. But like you said, there are a lot of, I'll say, variables that could have some different opinions as far as how much should be there, how much should be somewhere else. Make this all a complete apples to apples type comparison.
Sure.
So, we talked some in our last jail committee meeting. I presented some numbers there that would make it a more even comparison, I think. I haven't given, a presentation to the guys here about that yet, but I talked about that at our last jail meeting. So I want to make sure everybody knows it's not really a cut and dried, obvious answer. There are a lot of things to consider. One of the keys is, I guess, is how long will that jail last to be serviceable? And we don't know that for sure. It's going to be we're going to have to make that decision based on what the commissioners come to us with to decide, I feel like this is it, or it's going to be something we're going to shoot at without having a fact or a crystal ball to back it up, bottom line. So it's not an ideal situation as far as, how we can say cut and dry, yes, it's this, or it's this, or it's this. It's going to be some guesswork involved. I appreciate your comments, your thoughts there. There are a lot of, I guess, go a different way with you on some of those too. I understand that it's a matter of opinion on some of those things.
Right. I'm concerned not just how long it'll last, and not talking just about structure, but talking about equipment and infrastructure within the jail itself too. Doors, mechanicals that are obsolete, the elevator is pointed out to be a safety issue. Buildings last a long time, but operations, to operate that effectively is my biggest concern. And to really look at that, I think you need a segregation study to look at roofs, to look at mechanical disconnects, to kind of estimate the longevity of the equipment left in that building.
And how much, the variables, how long will it last? Right. And of course, the longer you keep it, when you do replace it, the construction cost of new is going to go up. So there's all that comes into play. But how much, if you keep it for, say, 10 years or 15 years, whatever the number becomes, how much you got to spend out of your dollars to keep it in a position or a condition that we can house the prisoners like we should? I mean, all that, those are variables that we don't know.
Do we know our current maintenance cost right now? Is anybody giving that?
I don't have any numbers for it. Hard numbers. So I don't know if it's been something, I think we go over there on a need-to basis. It may not be necessarily on a improvement basis or maybe something to make things last longer, things like that. I would say it's probably on a repair kind of.
I tried to do some calculations kind of with what Greg did his calculations. We're using some numbers, and for the options 1, 2, and 3, you can use what we've been giving us costs and be concrete with your numbers there. But the option 4 that Greg's presented, do we just keep the current jail and do something with the DO, those kind of things, and see how that compares? The options or the variables being how long do you keep the current jail in place, how much repair work, how much cost are involved in maintaining it over that period of time that you keep it. And depending on what numbers you use, it can come out pretty even on a cost per bed per year basis of building new or the other options. It can come down to be pretty even across the board, depending on what variables you use in there. So again, it's not an exact science. It's a matter of where you feel.
My understanding is the commissioners will likely bring us their proposal, whether it's option 1, 2, 3. And it's up to us at that point then to determine whether we're going to fund it.
I think that's a fair statement.
So really, a lot of this should be directed towards the commissioners because they're responsible for the buildings, correct?
They're responsible for maintaining the buildings, if you will.
Right.
Any new and or used, and then asking for whatever it takes to fund the request or what they see to be the need.
So we really are waiting on the commissioners to make a move at this point.
Probably to some degree, yes. And even Aaron, what you would said, the things inside that building, I would assume that'd be easy enough we could get quotes on, right?
Well, not necessarily quotes, but studies of it, because you could have all devices failing in 5 years, or you could have 50% of devices failing in 5 years, or you could have 10%. I don't know when things were replaced and at what rate, so we have to be able to estimate that cost and lay that in to this option 4, if that's the case. Again, elevators, I think that needs to be addressed right now. To me, that's a safety issue. The fact that we know about it, or I know about it, I've seen it, that's a concern to me. I mean, I'm afraid for officer safety, just the way that operates. So that's the biggest issue to me right now. Just laying all that out.
And we also have the reality is if it was decided right now that we're building a brand new jail, we are potentially 3 years out. I mean, I think the Wabash Wabash County Jail was a 3-year project.
They mentioned 3 years at our meeting this past Monday.
And what are we going to do between then and now? What makes sense for us to devote dollars to make sure we get through the next 3 years? If that, it's obviously going to be longer because there's still things we have to work through. So we're looking at what, 2029 into 2030 before this could potentially become a reality?
And I think once we determine which route we're going to go, that will determine if we spend any money over there.
Mm-hmm.
And if we do we put a Band-Aid on it? Or if we're not going to build a facility, that's going to determine. There's just so many unknowns right now until we get a little bit of direction from the commissioners, I think.
Just as a comment on one of the things that Greg pointed out, some of the money we're spending in the general fund, if we would commit to new versus what we're doing now. We already are obligating, or it may go down because of some of the programs we put in place, but we are obligating, $1.1 million for adults at this point in our annual budget to go toward the cost of that. So that at least should, if we build a new facility, that would go away. It wouldn't be toward sending people out of county, be going toward the debt, paying off the bond issue for that new building. So we're already spending the money. It's rather, do we spend it on the facility or on the people we're sending out? That becomes that issue.
I said at one point in time, if we continue to do nothing and send them out of county, we spend $30 million over the next 25 years. It's like, that's a lot cheaper than $130 million.
Yeah, you asked for all that study. We already did that.
Where's it at?
Angie's got a copy of it, DZL. They went through all these buildings. Everything I've got copies at my shop. Everything's structural. It's no structural.
It needs to be put into a proposal then.
But what I'm saying is, did all this.
That's
okay,
fine.
Wait a minute. Let me talk for a minute. You asked for commissioner, so I'm a commissioner, so I'm coming up here. Okay? 5.4 million was the bid to finish 911. We got about 600 grand in it. By our people doing it and subbing some of the work out. Guys, when they built that jail, I just talked to Sheriff Lawson a couple days ago. When they built that jail like a bunker because they knew they was going to add to it. There is nothing structurally wrong with the jail. Do we got work to do? Yes. But since I've been the commissioner, we've done less work on the D home and the jail to keep it functioning than all the other buildings. A lot more. We did way less. These are the two buildings they told us needed tore down. They're made out of concrete. Even the roofs are concrete.
So maybe what we need would be maybe a copy of those reports if you've got them, and then it would be a list of expenses or items that would need to be done at the jail. And that way it would be more of a comparison.
Right, and I've already got prices for the boiler and chiller at the D home.
Okay.
And that's what I'm saying, guys. You can't build this jail. Since I've been here, I've only been here 5 years. I've heard about this for 4 years, being dilapidated. How are we keeping it running if it's so dilapidated? Okay? One, you cannot put this on the taxpayer when your problem is not criminal. We've proven this in community corrections that it's mental health and drugs. You want to build a jail, not for criminals. And you can, Sheriff, I know what you're going to say. They're all charged criminally. I understand that. But the bottom line is you got to help these people. And if you go over and look at that D-home and be quite honest, I told Mr. Lawson to go look at it. That D-home looks like it did when they opened it in 1981. There's not paint knocked off the doors. The countertops are still just like they were when they was there. Like they didn't hardly use this thing.
I don't agree with that.
Huh?
I've been through there.
I've been through there. I'm the guy that found the water that's been coming in for 25 years. You've been here for how many months?
I only had to see it one time to know what's coming out of your mouth is not correct.
Well, you're wrong.
Let's not argue about it. I mean,
we've got a study from DZL and they done 2 other studies. Is that right, Mike? We done them studies 2-3 years ago?
DLZ or whoever.
Yes, DLZ. That's where you start at. There's no more, they spent 70-some thousand on that study.
Yeah.
And you need to go through that book and fix all that and then have somebody come back in and say, what else do you need to do?
So
you've wasted so much money just keep looking at it, you fix what they told us to fix. That makes sense to me.
And I guess part of it's gonna be getting those reports and maybe it's going back through there and looking at that. But at the end of the day, I guess we are looking for something to come from the commissioners, which I had requested, I think, over 2 weeks ago at your meeting was to really pull something together. But it obviously hasn't happened yet. So I guess maybe it'll be forthcoming from you guys.
I figure you can fix the jail and the D-home for 10 million, probably less, and I can buy you 15 years. Because since I've been here, they said every 20 you got to build it. You're financed for 25, which makes no sense. If I can buy you 15 years for 8 to 10 million, that's a no-brainer for all the taxpayers and all the people that work for us. We worked really hard in 4 years being on that council to bring these people's pay up because they were so low. And if you don't take care of those people, we're going to be right back there again. You guys are going to be facing the same thing.
You know, I guess I would say this, if the commissioners can bring to us a plan that will renovate the D-home and make the jail useful for 15 years for $8 to $10 million, I'd love to see it. I want to see that.
Now bring it to you.
I want to see it. That's great. I mean, it saves a whole lot of money.
Yes, I'll bring it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Foley.
I have one question, Chuck Nornall, because you was on the council at that time. Didn't we appropriate money to fix so many of these elevators?
Yes, we did.
And they've only fixed, what, one or two?
They fixed the one at 911 and they're working on these two, but.
How come the one at the jail's never fixed yet?
Well, because there's only 2 elevator companies in the whole state, so.
Well, I know.
That's the issue.
But that's been, what, 2 or 3 years ago?
Oh, yeah, it's been at least 3 years ago. I think we okay.
I was saying that we appropriated money then to fix all these elevators.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna fix one at the Salem Bank. We didn't need 2 there.
Right.
At that time.
And we fixed the one and said 911's good now. Now they're fixing these ones. And then we'll have to check on the jail to see where they're at as far as where it's at.
Where it's, on the schedule. I would say, I thought we appropriated money for that.
Thank you. Anybody else from the council have any thoughts or comments? If not, then what I'd like to do is open this up for the public. Again, thank you for coming. We do want to allow the public to speak on the topic of the jail and the options that were kind of overviewed here. Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and then state what you'd like to say. Please, no personal attacks. It's not going to do us any good. If a group is here with a group spokesperson, please stand to acknowledge you are here with that person until they begin speaking. Then please sit down so that everyone can see and hear the speaker. Each speaker would be limited to 2 minutes time. And if we need to have, some type of a community meeting, I guess it's probably not going to happen until after we would actually get something from the commissioners as a final recommendation and things like that, so that then we can go around and talk to the community about that. But I'm happy to accommodate a request to speak, because at the end of the day, the people elected us here to try and make a well-informed decision. So at this time, I'd open it up for the public if anybody would like to come speak regarding.
Hello, I'm Cassie Moriarty. I live at 441 North Washington Street in Marion. I would just like to echo kind of more of what he was stating about looking at the studies that have already been done and renovating versus putting the next 25 years into a significant debt hole. If you just Google building a new jail, the first things that are coming up is saying that all it does is mean that you're going to fill those new beds you just already created. I want to say in 1980s, the U.S. Census puts our county at approximately 80,000 people, and we've lost about 24,000 of them since. However, our jail populations have put up nearly 300% more in that time period. How have we lost nearly 25,000 people, but we're jailing more and more? There's a significant issue that lies there. Obviously, many crises have changed since then, including the opioid, as well as other drugs. But I also think that we need to kind of look at other counties that are doing some of these reforms already. During my research, one that came up is Tippecanoe. They had worked with a prison consultant, and so I recommend for those that were kind of going that route to look at what they've been doing. They're having success. They're seeing lower jail beds being filled. The other one is just looking at the history of our own jail. In 1980-ish, they built a new addition. Within 10 years, they were already trying to build a new one. 1990, once they built the new one, 5 years after that, they were already trying to build even more additions. We have to look at that and say, it's not working. There's something bigger going on here, and we need to get much, much more creative, as well as say, pause, why are we over-policing and criminalizing so many things? Because I believe what was already said earlier is, once you start looking, you're gonna find more. Not saying we don't look, but I think we're overlooking. Everything is a criminal offense nowadays. Like, I've lived in this city since 2023, and I got pulled over 15 times in 2 years. One time I got pulled over 20 feet from my driveway because it was 3 a.m. after I got off work. And they said, why are you driving so slow? Because I'm about to turn into my driveway. Why is that a crime? That's what I say.
Could I ask you, do you know what that program in Tippecanoe County is called?
It has to do with pre-trial, looking at the offenses there. I'm not sure on the exact name. I can actually email it to you after this because I still have it open on my laptop.
Are you a criminal justice student by chance?
No, but I actually did work for the state of Indiana for the Ombudsman Office for the DOC, which if you don't know what that is, I was the person that got the GTO messages from prisoners, and I would directly kind of escalate any concerns about the way that they were being handled while in prison.
That's some work. Nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, council members. I'm going to stand back. You guys have got new microphones since the last time I was here, and my voice kind of carries. I'm Dallas Street. I live outside of Van Buren. I watched the jail committee meeting last month, and I've heard the rumors throughout the county. I just want to take some time to kind of provide some insight, another perspective on some of the talking points that we're hearing lately. You guys are charged with making some huge decisions across the county. This one's huge, so kudos to you for stepping up and continuing to show up and working together, first of all. But the current jail, it's been operating in its current state since the 90s. It's roughly 30 or more years, just over 30 years probably. That totally refutes the talking point that's constantly repeated by one commissioner that it makes no sense to take a 25-year loan on a 20-year building. We've proven, and we continue to prove daily, that it can continue to operate past that 20-year lifespan, and the sheriff does that on a daily basis right now. So the commissioners have already confirmed that the cost of building a new jail will not increase taxes. The taxes have already gone up because of the lit tax, so we, the taxpayers, are paying that already. We're going to bring our inmates back home, which will save us over $1 million, like you guys have already discussed. And there's a use of another tax, or like you guys have already said, there's funds appropriated for that. So on top of that, I sent the sheriff the same questions that I sent you guys. Some of you responded, some of you did not. That's great either way. The sheriff committed to me in that email response that he would open the doors if we were to build a new jail and bring in those inmates from other counties who are suffering from the same problems we are right now. That's a source of income. So that can be added into the funds that are already set aside for building a new jail. So the cost of building a new jail is public. We all know that. If you watch the meetings, you can see those options 1, 2, and 3, and any other options that are presented because you guys do it publicly. What's also public is the discussion about what happens when the state or the federal government comes in here, shuts us down, and tells us how we're going to do it. You guys and the commissioners have been vocal about what that looks like. We don't control the money. We, the taxpayers, just have to pay it. We make it happen, right? And I don't think anyone wants that. Okay, so the same commissioner complaining about the timeline of the loan has accused the sheriff of being anti-rehabilitation because no companies are coming in. Operating rehabilitation programs out of a jail is a guaranteed paycheck. I think we can all agree there. Addiction isn't going away quickly as much as we try to fight it. So running a rehabilitation program in the jail and working in coordination with jail staff.
30 more seconds.
Yes, sir. So if our jail was safe enough, the point is that the companies would be here. A new jail would provide that ample space and safety for those companies to collaborate with jail staff and work those contracts out. Okay, I'm going to close. I know I have 20 seconds. I have a question and then I have a closing comment. It's public record that one commissioner's personal business conducts an awful lot of work in the county-owned buildings. The jail has its own smorgasbord of plumbing issues. Is it too far of a stretch to wonder if the resistance to building a new jail isn't for personal gain here? Finally, as a tax-paying citizen...
That's getting out of line.
Understood, sir. Lastly, as a tax-paying citizen with 3 young sons, I'm looking for a fix, not a repair, not a Band-Aid. I want to shoulder this burden now so my sons don't have to in 15 years when they become taxpayers. I want to do that. My challenge to you and the commissioners now, because you guys are waiting on something from them, is to make the right decision, vote on it, and let's get the process moving, okay? It's turning into a political stunt for some campaigns, and nobody really wants to see that. So I thank you guys for your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you for coming. Thanks for your thoughts.
Good evening, gentlemen and ladies. My name is Molly Early, 1717 Summerfield Drive. Many of you are probably starting to get to recognize me because I've been to a lot of these and speaking lately. First and foremost, I want to thank you as a council and as a county for allowing the public to speak. Not every city, county does that. They cut you off. Now, that being stated, there's a couple of things here that I'd like to say. To be quite honest, my research has been focused in other areas lately, not on this jail, so I don't know a ton about it. But based on what I've heard tonight in the 3 options, renovate, or build new. Let's face it, how many of you still have your refrigerators that you bought 25 years ago? Okay, 1. All right, in your garage? Okay, so we don't build things like we used to. This jail was built in the 90s. It has been stated it was built to last. Let's keep it lasting. Why keep building new shiny things to keep up with whatever else county, right? Nobody needs to keep up with the Joneses. Let's build what we have. The gentleman that was up here before me said something about he wants to shoulder that burden for his children. As a parent, I totally understand that and I totally agree with that. There are so many things I would love to shoulder for my children so they don't have to experience it, but that has never been the world that we live in. We will always pay taxes, 2 things for certain, death and taxes. And in 25 years, one of my children's already paying taxes. The other one will be a full-blown adult and paying taxes then too. So with that being stated, we don't need to keep spending millions upon millions upon millions of dollars that we're just going to keep spending and spending and spending. Have we not learned anything from our federal government that we shouldn't keep spending money we don't have? And with that, I thank you all for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. I don't know. It sounds like they're grinding something.
Good evening. Head down 1526 South Lawrence Street here in Marion. Dr. King once said, we are dealing with the fierce urgency of right now. And that's where we're at. I hear about the new jail, I hear about that. But we got people out there that need our help. But then, a great man recently told me, a lot of people won't seek help until they hit rock bottom. So what I ask this council to do is let's put more effort in trying to find a way to get our people some help. We're Grant County, we're all family. This is a great county. So I asked that we relook at this and see what we can do to get help for these people now, because yet they talk about jail take 3 years to build. We don't have 3 years. You don't see what I see out here on the streets. We have right now. And the commissioner that people talk about, it's the same commissioner who's got people coming in this shop begging. I know because I've seen it personally. So it becomes personal to him because his kids is out here in this community as well as mine, as is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello, my name's June Brown. I live in Sweetser. Love the newly proposed and going to be approved program of the pretrial home detention. Our focus should be what I've heard already echoed here is rehabilitation. The bigger the jail is, you'll fill it up. It doesn't matter how big you make it, you'll fill it up. Some focus needs to be on getting some first-time offenders out of the jail, getting them rehabilitation, such as a pretrial home detention program, but you might have those people that are maybe not, they're not going to qualify for the pretrial home detention program. Maybe they do need to be locked away. So for a small time period to get the help they need. So what are we doing with the D-home? Well, could that be utilized for something like that? Use the extra space? Get them some vocational training, technical training, work training, get them back on the payroll. Maybe they don't come back, so we don't have to keep building bigger jails. Community safer. Everybody sleeps better at night. They can feed their own kids. You know, they can rent from you. They can buy from you. I know there's landlords and realtors here. You know, keeps the economy going. Keep them out of jail. So I think our focus needs to be a little broader than just the state of the jail. We can fix the jail. I think we should fix the jail. But we need to fix the root problem, and that's the drug use. Basically, mental health. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Mark Trader, 3962 South Garthwaite Road. I guess I agree with Mr. Bowling that we need to, it'd be money better spent to revamp the ones we got. And our other concern is like the location that on Garthwaite Road. Why would you want to put a jail so close to the school? And what will that do to property values? We seem like we get hit all the time with all this new stuff they're wanting to do on Garthwaite Road. I don't know why Garthwaite Road's so popular. But I oppose to having a jail that close to our kids. And hey, no letter's ever been sent out or nothing to anybody that's in a certain area. You would think would get notified that, hey, we're thinking about putting a jail in your backyard. You know, there's a lot of people that's concerned with the property values. I'm putting hundreds of thousands of dollars in my home. Then I don't want it to be worth $100,000 if I put $300,000 in it. And I just think it'd be well spent to just go ahead and revamp what we got. And because we got a lot of our neighbors would not want that in our backyard. because we're really concerned about our own values. And being so close to the school.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, Ed Hartman. I live near Fairmount, Indiana. We've heard a lot tonight, and we've heard a lot of this before. And one thing that doesn't really get addressed is, okay, if you go spend on a new jail, you're going to have a tighter budget every year for here on, for most of us, yes. And you've got still some other buildings that need some work. If you look around at this building right here, this office building, it needs some work too. When you look at the exterior of it, it needs cleaned up. Probably all the windows need recaulked. There's some substantial work needing to be done in our other buildings as well. So I think really you need to get to work on fixing what you've got, because you've got the buildings. You've got the D home. It's big enough for 92 beds. You've got the jail you've been using now, and then you've been sending some people out to other counties. But in other words, you've got 3 years to get through, even if you started building something else. So you're going to start fixing the jail. You might as well do the job right and get another 10 or 15 years out of it before you need the next upgrade. If you build new, in 10 years, you're probably going to need to fix a lot of things there too. Maintenance has got to be done. It's continual. And that's what you're faced with right here. There's nothing structurally ready to fall down. It's all maintenance. So you might as well get on it. I'd be much more in favor of doing that than putting us deep in debt, not knowing exactly what the future is on what we're going to face in reduced property taxes, which are reduced taxes to the county. So you've got a big decision to make. And it's not just what we'd like to have. It's probably what we need to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Todd Lansing, Green County Area Plan. Well, actually live in Blackford County now, but I was trying to keep my mouth shut tonight, but there's one issue that just bothers me, and that's the useful lifespan. That you spend whatever the amount of money, and then it's only going to last whatever that time frame is. These aren't McDonald's that we're putting up, and you get the return of investment, you wear it out, and the money's been made, and you tear it down and put a new one up. That's not what we're talking about. If you go just next door to Blackford County, the current jail is where I went to kindergarten. And so that was built in the early 60s, not even as a jail. So it wasn't even structurally designed as a jail. And it's still functioning well. And there's no talk about we've got to build a new one, or that one needs to be torn down, we need to make another one. And that's the poorest county, and almost the poorest county in the state. So we want to consider, we built this in the 80s, and then we're still paying on the last remodel of it. And we're not going to build a function. But just the thought process of a time frame on something that expensive is hard to swallow. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Randy Atkins, 8560 South, Wheeling Pike, Fairmount. Melissa, I think you did a great job with your program. We've heard about rehabilitation, and I'm glad that you guys are going to support that. One question that came up, Sheriff Garcia, was you said that there were times in history through when the jail population came up, programming implemented and numbers went down. I don't understand why we haven't continued those programmings.
No, they're still ongoing.
They're still
Yeah,
ongoing.
they're still ongoing.
So why were they more effective then than what they are now?
Well, the issue is it goes down, levels out, people commit crime, they come to jail, numbers go back up. I know talking to Judge Spitzer in his 20-plus years on the bench, that's what he advised me that he's seen with when drug court, pretrial release and those programs started, which are still going on today. Grant County doesn't lack programming. We have a plethora of programming in our county that works.
Why don't we like it?
No one's saying we don't like it.
Oh, okay.
I said that works.
Oh, okay.
It works. However, so far it's been insufficient in keeping that population down. The young lady mentioned, our population has gone down, and that is true. Unfortunately, the portion of the population that stayed are people that are committing crimes, right? So that's why you haven't seen crime decrease. So what we have to really look at as a county is what do we do with those who violate the law? I mean, to me, as a father and grandfather of kids in this county, that's what we have to look at as a society. Do we want accountability or do we not want accountability? Lack of accountability creates more crime. I can tell you today, we have 345 inmates today. Out of the 345, 119 individuals for 34.5% are classified as misdemeanor or level 6 felony offenders, which is our lowest felony offense.
Do you feel that they're a threat to our society, those individuals?
Well,
are they violent to the point where they're endangers our?
Well, hold on, I'll get to that question here in a second. However, only 16 inmates of our 345, which is only 4.6% of our population, are being held solely on misdemeanor charges. A total of 45 inmates, or 13%, are being held on drug possession charges as the highest offense. Now, does that mean that there's not more drug addicts in our jail? No, that doesn't mean that. That just means that 45 of our inmates, their highest charge is a possession charge, whether it's possession of methamphetamine, possession of cocaine. So those are the numbers we have. So it's not like we're holding a lot of low-level offenders. So we as a society, and you got to remember, my job in this whole jail discussion is to provide information to the commissioners and to the council. And I'm providing with 345 inmates. The 92 beds will give us 366 beds. So, and we normally average between 360 and 380, right? So what will happen, what I'm concerned with just the 92 beds, is that not only will we have one jail full, we'll have another jail, because that'll have to be run separate as a jail, that's what DOC is telling us, that will be either full or nearly full. So if you make it into a rehab center, what people have to understand, when you run rehabilitation programs in the jail, you have to have separation, right? So you can't have individuals that are going through a rehab program with general population. So let's say, for instance, over there we have those pods, if they double bunk them, we would have, I think 4 pods that would hold 16 beds and 2 pods that would have 14 because those are ADA compliant. So you take a pod, let's say with 16 beds, and you have 10 people in your rehab program. So that's going to leave 6 empty beds. You just can't fill them with people, because then that affects the programming that you're trying, the rehabilitation program that you're trying to accomplish in the jail.
Yeah, I think we've heard this. So what percentage of violent criminals do you feel that are a threat to society in the jail?
Well, that's hard to tell, because we've never really evaluated the individuals in our jail. What we really need to do, so that we know an exact number, we really need to do an evaluation of how many we have that are actually substance abuse, that are addicted, how many are mental health issues, and then how many are co-occurring, which is both mental health, and substance abuse. So we're in the process of trying to get that done through opioid money.
Okay.
Once we do that, I can give you a better number of that. I can tell you this, that we have had people on low-level offenses, and I'll give you a perfect example, because we do say victimless crimes for drug addiction. It's only a victimless crime until you're the victim, right? Until someone steals your car, or let's say, for instance, worst case scenario, the individual who's high on fentanyl and meth drives across the line up by Lakeview and hits the nurse head on, killing the nurse, however she lives. So it's only a victimless crime until someone in your family becomes a victim. So that's what I'm saying. We as a society have to decide. The police officers, law enforcement do not make laws. If we as a society want laws changed, then we have to see our state representative and our state senators for them to go to the state legislator and say, hey, we do not want drug charges criminalized. Because I can tell you this, and you've seen it before, you've seen the headlines in the paper where so-and-so was killed because of a drunk driver. Maybe the guy is a habitual alcoholic, I don't know, in all cases. We had the incident up here from Oak Hill where it was a head-on collision, someone killed. So I understand what you're saying on how many of them are violent offenders. Well, maybe not a lot of them, but how many of them can cause violent things to happen if there's no accountability?
Sure, and I believe that we're all subject to that anytime we get in the car and we drive down the road, regardless of, what the jail is. I mean, I want to commend Mr. Scott on the goals that he set. I mean, if we could truly have effective programming where we could cut the jail population down to 50%, I think that would be a goal that we should really strive for, because I do believe as an educator that we need to help people.
Oh, so do I.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yep, I believe that 100%, and that's why I believe that space is important. Because what happens is you put someone in jail that has a substance abuse problem, they get put on probation, they start their programming, which is great, but a lot of times when they're in jail, they have no foundation that's built, so that when they get out of jail, they go to probation, and then they go back to their old environment, right? So now they're trying to build their lives on shifting sand, and the temptation from their old environment comes, and they fail, and then we wonder why they fell. Well, because there's no foundation for them to build a house on. So with space within the jail to provide these programs, we can help build that foundation to truly help people. Not just to talk about wanting to help people, but to actually implementing programs that are going to save people's lives that are addicted to those substances, and that will hopefully in the long run will keep recidivism from happening, and hopefully keep one of my family members or one of your family members from being hurt or being a victim of this victimless crime.
Do you believe a new jail is the only way we can accomplish that?
I believe that if you look at the history of our communities, I believe that in order to check off all the boxes, to be able to provide proper rehabilitation and to properly address the overcrowding issue, I think that we would probably need a new jail. However, that is not my decision to make. My job is to give the information, and I can tell you our population in the jail is 360 to 380 most of the time, and a big problem is the opioid problem, and we definitely need to get help. But how do we do that? How do we get from point A to point B? I think, and I've mentioned this before, is drug addicts, and I've been out on the street for 31 years working this community for 27 of those 31 years. And I worked at Marion High School as an SRO in McCullough. Heck, I went to school there. Mm-hmm. I've seen it firsthand. It's not something I've read about. It's something that I've seen, that drug addicts normally do not go and seek the help that they need until something significantly happens in their life for them to seek that help. And a lot of times, if you look at the success that drug court has, is because those are individuals that were referred to them from the jail. So they're in the jail, they get out, they go through drug court, they go through their programs, they graduate, and they live successful lives. And I think we need to expand on that program, but we have to have the space and the foundation. Do I want a new jail? No. Do I want to spend $100 and some million? No. I would prefer people obey the law and not come to jail, to be honest with you. It makes it a lot safer for my deputies. But to say that we're not gonna hold people accountable, we're not doing at least me as a sheriff, we're not doing the community the service that it deserves on keeping Grant County safe, because they're driving while suspended. It's only a driving while suspended charge until he wrecks into your car and doesn't have insurance, and hopefully you don't get hurt or killed. It's one of those things we see all the time with ICE and the illegals, right? Well, if they weren't here, this would have never happened. Well,
I don't think we're going to ever clean that up to the point where we're going to have that degree of safety. And as a taxpayer, I guess what I'm going to ask you folks is, to make sure that we can do what we can to help the people. And I'm going to ask the council and the commissioners to make sure that we don't put this county in a tax burden that will impact my kids and, deny those before us of the benefits of having the tax dollars to make their lives better and provide things for them. That's what I'm going to ask for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Sheriff.
well, that wasn't my official 2 minutes, was it?
No, I'll start you.
It was your official 5.
All right. The only thing I would say is this, is I think we all have the same goal. And I think as long as we keep talking and we keep working at it, I think we can reach that goal. We may have different avenues to get there. But I do think having conversations like these and those good questions you were asking are part of the solution. We just need to keep talking, keep looking at what we need to do. And at the end of the day, as I said time and time again, this is a people's jail. This isn't Del Garcia's jail. Whatever you give us to work with, we're going to do our best. If you say you're going to fix that up, then we're going to do our best to keep population down. We're going to do our best to work with it. My job is to provide you the information, and those are true facts. Those are true numbers that I'm giving you. And we have to decide as a society, what do we want to do with those who constantly refuse to obey the law? And once we answer that question, then I guess we can decide how we're going to handle that as a community.
Thank you.
My name's Tony Hofer, 3935 South Hofer Road. I've got issues with the Garthwaite project you guys want to pull. You got a high school within a half a mile of this facility you want to build. The cross-country team is within a quarter mile along the road. And Mayor Bill Rock just spent a ton of money, buying 150 acres right beside it to build high-end homes. Who's going to buy a high-end home or have one built if you're going to have a jail right beside it? Nobody's going to spend $600,000-$700,000 on a house next to a jail. Then you got 1812. They're invested. We oppose them. But we're living with them. You're going to have 300,000-400,000 people a year for 3 days or 4 days going by there, and you're going to see a jail right in front of their facility. It's just, you're going to have the, people come and visit the criminals in jail. How do we know our kids are safe? Well, have somebody escapes. Is my kid's going to be safe? We live on a dead end road. We've already had issues, with, people, coming back here. But to me, it's just not a very good, smart place to put it. You got other places to put it. Just be an eyesore to, like I said, to 1812 and to Bill Rock, you spend 150 acres, for an investment, it kind of bites him in the butt. So, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Hofer.
Good evening, gentlemen. Michael Duke, East Bradford Pike, out amongst the cornfields and the bean fields going towards Landis. There's a lot to be said and more that can be said. You've heard many different ideas here, thoughts views, explanations that we have data, we've had this study, we've had that study, this consultant has given us these recommendations. It's kind of culminated now to the 3 options, plus the other possibly 2 that are being talked about. One thing I can say from my perspective that's definitive of all this is that the building that we are meeting in right now has been here for a very long time. It's the old Spencer Hotel. It's been repurposed, but the bones of the building still stand. It's been renovated, it's been maintained. It continues to be functional. The issue of if it's just the jail issue, I would say that there's one thing that is definitive, and it's the need for the formula, and maybe it's already there, that the commissioners have, but a definitive preventive maintenance program for the existing facility that is planned out, that prioritizes what needs to be fixed most critically and on down the line. And that is a plan that could be or should be executed every year, ongoing. So whatever the option is that's it's going to be going towards, it's definitive that the existing jail is here, and there is a need for a defined preventive maintenance program. I hope it's there in some form, but if it's not, it should be developed. And if it is there in parts and pieces, it should be refined and defined and presented and reviewed by the commissioners and I think the council on an ongoing basis to ensure as best we can as a community that the building is preserved and stays functional while all these other discussions go on. That's the first thing I want to say, long-winded. The second thing I would say is just to suggest, offer a suggestion out here, and one guy's idea, because there is competing is the right word, information from different sources, be it, it's probably all good analytical data and that can be used, but put into and collated in a form that gives us some answers going towards defining what I think Mr. Scott has said in his question about we need an answer for what the real problem is here in the county. And it's a comprehensive answer. It's not just one that we need a jail, but several people have talked to, we need to deal with other problems in terms of abuse of drugs, and the commission of crimes and all those things in between that have to be addressed in programs. That's part of it, I'm sure. But the idea I would throw out is the potential for considering a fast-track independent review by a unconcerned independent third party that can look at and bring this data together and try to help the community formulate the answer to what the real problem is. And then once you know what that root cause or root causes are, formulate plans to correct it, be it a rehabilitation program in a facility at Radiant or in the old D home or in another location, or if it's one of the options of the jail. But know what the root causes are by way of an independent assessment. And perhaps that could be developed with professionals from one of the major universities in their criminal justice and corrections program or their sociology programs, perhaps the Indiana Criminal Justice Institute or the Indiana State Police or the Department of Corrections, as the one young lady suggested, her involvement, bringing her expertise back to the community. there's a resource out there that could be engaged for the purpose of the county answering this question. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Duke. Yep. I don't see anybody else coming forward. I certainly appreciate everybody's thoughts and comments tonight. It is a big decision for our community, and it will affect our community for the coming several years. And we do have an upcoming meeting Wednesday, April 15th, 2026, which I believe would actually be tax day. So for all of you who need to get your taxes done. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mr. President.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Adjourn. Thank you.